President Trump is giving Hamas a, quote, last warning, calling on the militant group to release all hostages in Gaza immediately, or there will be, quote, hell to pay later.
That's a threat coming shortly after the White House confirmed the U.S. is directly negotiating with the terrorist group. Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, telling reporters those talks have been recent.
Hamas has not been forthright with us, and it's time for them to be forthright with us. I wouldn't test President Trump. It's fairly clear he was saying, I've had enough. Like, there's a lot of mistreatment. There's a lot of conversation among these hostages about the deprivation that they went through, about murders that they saw. And I think that the president listened to it, absorbed it, and said, it's unacceptable.
CNN's Jeremy Diamond is with us now from Tel Aviv. Jeremy, what more do we know about these negotiations? Israel obviously not reacting well to this news.
No, and really we haven't heard very much from the Israeli government, but there is no indication that they are happy that the U.S. government is speaking directly to Hamas for the first time in decades, since the United States designated Hamas as a foreign terrorist organization in 1997. What's interesting is that you have these kind of two dueling strategies, perhaps, or complementary, depending on how you look at it, from the Trump administration. On the one hand, Adam Boehler, the president's hostage envoy, speaking directly with Hamas, seemingly trying to cut a deal to get more hostages out, and in particular, we would assume the 5 American hostages who still remain in Gaza. And on the other hand, you have President Trump once again making a very dramatic threat, ultimatum to Hamas, warning them that if they do not release all of the hostages immediately, then they will have all hell to pay. Now, the president has made these threats in the past, and there's no indication so far that these are actually effective in terms of moving the needle with Hamas. The president this time, though, made clear that he's also going to work to arm Israel even further so that they can, quote, finish the job in Gaza. But of course, we know that Israel fought Hamas for 15 months in Gaza, pummeled the Gaza Strip with millions of pounds of explosives. And yet, as we saw during these hostage releases week after week, Hamas very much still standing. So it's not exactly clear where we go from here. What is clear, though, is that this current ceasefire very much seems to be hanging on by a thread.
And Jeremy, human rights groups are attempting to call on Israel to resume allowing aid into Gaza after Israel paused those shipments in order to essentially put pressure on Hamas over phase 2 of the ceasefire agreement. What's the latest there?
Yeah, since Sunday, Israel has not allowed any aid, any food, any goods to get into the Gaza Strip. This is a total blockade of any kind of humanitarian aid getting into Gaza. And we know that it comes as hundreds of thousands of people inside the Gaza Strip have become reliant on humanitarian aid. And over the last 6 weeks of the ceasefire, they really have begun to rebuild. The markets have come back to life. People have had something that they could count on in terms of food coming in the door. And now, of course, a huge amount of fear about what happens when those very limited stockpiles of aid and food that are in Gaza actually run down. The World Food Program has indicated that it could be in less than 2 weeks that bakeries and soup kitchens could be forced to shut down. Boris Brown.
All right, Jeremy Diamond, thank you for the report. We have CNN Global Affairs analyst Kim Dozier with us now in studio. So, Kim, the U.S. in direct negotiations with Hamas, how unprecedented is that?
Compared to the last Trump administration that opened negotiations with the Taliban, I can't really say I'm surprised. This is a transactional president. His various national security officials have been saying repeatedly since he took office, we don't necessarily care what these various leaders or officials are guilty of, accused of, etc. We just need to do business. So opening the talks, another good thing about talking directly is that there's no middleman, and so if you are about to let Netanyahu have his way with Gaza again, this way you can tell the various constituents in the Arab world and back here in the States, we tried, we even talked to them directly, they couldn't be negotiated with, so what can you do?
Conversely, you would think that Netanyahu would be thrilled to have the backing of the United States to do as he wishes in Gaza. As Trump said, it's over for you, Hamas, if this happens. Yet the Israelis are cautious about what may come of direct talks between the U.S. and Hamas.
Yeah, look, they don't like the green light that might give Hamas more legitimacy or perhaps lead to Hamas members, more of them getting some sort of shelter outside of Gaza to fight another day. But the fact of the matter is, Trump has said he's rearming Israel. He's not criticizing, none of his administration is criticizing this cutoff of aid. I mean, hospitals are running out of the fuel that they need to run generators for surgeries, et cetera. It's getting dire in only a few days. There's no padding in terms of the supplies in Gaza to keep people going. So it looks mostly win-win for Israel. And I spoke to one regional official involved in the talks, and he says, Hamas, it's gone nowhere so far. So the Arab world is looking at this grimly. The Trump administration rejected their idea that they proposed earlier this week for rebuilding Gaza. So the Gaza Riviera plan is still on tap. And now it looks like Trump, after meeting with those hostage families, including, I believe, the family of the Israeli-American Adnan Alexander, is saying, we're going to let Israel go back to war in Gaza.
Does Hamas feel the pressure? I mean, do they? You see Trump here trying to drive both sides to the bargaining table. Barak Ravid, who initially broke the story about this, was saying he saw some parallels to how you see Trump treating Ukraine, trying to drive it to the bargaining table.
Yeah.
Does Hamas feel that pressure?
It depends where in the pecking order you are. If you're one of the leaders in Hamas who might be able to get exit to somewhere in the Gulf and live on, you probably are more open to negotiation, maybe. But the rank and file of Hamas know that there's no escape for them. They're probably just willing to fight, especially since this expulsion of all the Palestinians of Gaza plan is still on the White House plans for the future of the Middle East.
Still on the whiteboard. All right, Kim Dozier, thank you so much. We appreciate it.